Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Welcome to Season 8. Welcome to a whole new ball game. It's good to see everyone, and it's good to actually be on the camera for a change. So, last couple of seasons, I've had this little commentary box, but it's just been a little logo. Now, I'm actually on the camera, in the box, and it's good to see you all. My name is Ben Sapsford, aka Sapitron, and I will be taking you through this season, and we will be having plenty of adventures once again. As always, it's good to be here, and hope that to all of our drivers, you had a nice break, and to all of our viewers, that you are looking forward just as much to this new season as I am. It's going to be brilliant. We've got another, of course, amazing 10-round season, and we have much to look forward to. So we had some brilliant tracks in the calendar. We have some absolutely stellar drivers who are going to be joining us on this field. But, of course, we see those popping up in chat, and welcome to you all. Give us a little bit of love on the stream if you are looking forward to this season, if you're looking forward to tonight in Barcelona, or if you're looking to the rest of the calendar. So we have got, in no particular order, let's run it through. We've got Barcelona tonight, and then next week you have got yourself Laguna Seca, the WeatherTech Raceway, formerly the Mazda Raceway. Then you have a little bit of a break, followed by Mount Panorama with a little bit of a twist, but we'll leave that surprise for round 3. We've got round 4 heading to Misano, so Heart of Italy there. You got Silverstone, that's returning to Great Britain for about the halfway point of the season. Then you have, of course, the iconic Nordschleife, which is going to be opening up March, 4th of March. So that's going to be round 6. Round 7 is going to be taking us to Zolder, followed by Spa-Francorchamps. So a double header over in Belgium, and then we round off the season in April with the Red Bull Ring and Watkins Glen to finish. So we've got a brilliant set of tracks ahead of us, and a mighty stellar lineup in terms of drivers too. So of course we have got to talk about that. We've got to talk about the drivers, but of course the track we are heading to today, it is none other than the Circuit de Catalunya. It's a beautiful course. It's a great mix of characteristics when it comes to the racing experience you can have. You've got fast corners, you've got medium speed corners, you've got long sweepers. Like you look at the double sort of right then left-hander of Elf, then you head out to Renault to start off the third turn, and arguably the hardest to get right. If you power out too early, it can leave you in a bit of trouble. Then you head to the second sector, you go to Campsa, as our track guide tour courtesy of Colin is providing us now. Then you head through into La Caixa and the final sector of the track, with the chicane as well, to take a little bit of spice and add a little bit of interest, a little bit of intrigue. So we will be seeing, of course, the racers give it their all tonight. And well, let's actually talk about the races that we can expect, because we have got quite the set of drivers. So first off, opening things up in the gold class, represented by the white nameplates, we have got a healthy selection. We've got some familiar faces, some jumping up, some jumping down. For instance, we have got the likes of Hamby. I see a few different players there who are going to be continuing their campaigns near the top. You've got Colin, second place in the previous season, and now making their jump up alongside a few other new faces. So, of course, let us know who you're voting for as we head things through. We jump forward into the silvers, designated by the grey driver numbers, and that is going to be a set of 13 cars. So, again, a little bit of a shake-up in the order. We've got a couple of change-arounds and a couple of drivers who have made their way up. I see a few different names. So, for example, Aldhouse, second in the championship last season, making their way up. Wilson, champion for the bronze class in season 7. They're also going to be making their way up here, and we've got a few different car changes along to go with that, so we'll see who is taking a different ride this season. Following on from that, though, we have the bronze, and we have a familiar set, but another 13 drivers who are going to be joining us for the red driver numbers, and the three classes of racers. So it's going to be pretty interesting. It's going to be a heck of a lot of fun, and the drivers are just getting acclimatized to the circuits before we get things underway in full. But that's what we have to look forward to, ladies and gentlemen, and that's what I am personally very excited about. I have to say, I have missed this. I really have missed going on a Tuesday night, heading on ACC, and heading on track for a beautiful night of racing. For those who are new, we welcome you. And for series veterans, whether you joined us early days, whether you joined about Season 5, Season 6 when I started out, or if you are here just from last season or completely new, we welcome you all in spades. And we have got, of course, plenty to talk about in terms of the track and plenty to talk about in terms of the championship, which will soon be fleshing itself out just after a couple of races. I've got to say, it's looking pretty nice out there in Catalunya in Spain. It's going to be a beautiful, beautiful day out there. Say 23 degrees, followed by 28 degrees ambient temperature. We've got ourselves a healthy amount of competition, and we have got a beautiful track to boot to start things off. It really is the perfect testing ground. The mix of corners, the varying altitude, the varying undulation, and some of the camber through these areas of track are going to test the drivers and really give you a chance to bed things in. And that is really quite important. You've got to get a feel for the car. You've got to make sure that you are set and you are ready to go for it tonight. So we'll see what the drivers are capable of. We'll see if they are really ready to go racing, or maybe there's a little bit of rust that they got to shake off. Maybe they're a little bit out of practice. The season gap has been a little while now. Of course, we transitioned into 2025, and with that brings some new challenges here on the course. I'm looking forward to a lot of these races as well. Curious to see Misano in particular, along with round 3 at Bathurst. The drivers are just confirmed to be heading out of practice now, and they will be going trackside in just a moment for qualifying. So let's see what they are capable of. You can hear them in the background. Let's go and let's see what they are going to be bringing to the table as we are about to get going for quali. And we will be jumping on first thing with none other than a sort of trackside favourite. We tend to jump to them often, but Lenatus is going to be our first to we jump alongside with. Of course, hope everyone is doing well and hope everyone is having a very nice evening or morning or day, wherever you are in the world. Doesn't matter where you're tuning in, got some great races to come. So Lenatus staying in silver for this season. We did have qualifying and balancing heading into this race. And with that, a chance for drivers to reclassify based on last season as well as their current pace in the now. So we'll see who is going to be coming out on top. Hellstrom going to be the first car out on track and is going to be leading the charge as we head our way down through the final corners, and you can hear them open up the taps, that V8 engine roaring as we start off the first full qualifying lap here for Season 8 of the Championship. I'm very much looking forward to this. Let's see what you can do. Big peels as far to the left as you can, jump in heavy on those brakes, down to about 100 Ks. And weaving the car in and out. Got to keep a tight leash on that McLaren. But holding his nerve very nicely. Repsol now. A little bit of a washing wide there, so a tiny bit of slip on those rear tyres. Keeps the car fairly angled. Seat. Downhill left-hander. Got to make sure you don't lose the rear end coming out of the corner. All too easy to do so. And you have the chicane, the left-right of Worth as you head up the hill. Crest over with a bit of camber. Through Campsa, past the alternate route. And then down. Heavy braking zone incoming. Really jump on those brakes there. You have to really take it quite sharply to keep that car under control. Final chicane now. Elstrom looking to be the initial benchmark. Let's see, as he's got a couple of drivers behind him. Yeah, coming up to the line now. 200Ks and counting. 4th gear, 5th gear. Up to the line. And it's going to be the starter something. Fortunately, this one didn't quite get valid. I think he invalidated just at the end. You've got Leonard's going for another one, but the time's immediately dropping down. You've got Wolfslander with a 44.0. Liam Blom goes Season 7 champion and looking to defend the title with a 43.482. Holmberg coming through with a P3. By comparison, 44.2 and leader of the silver class respectively. As you've got many drivers flying their way through now. They would jump around a little bit. Robert Homer coming up to the line. One of the bronze representatives here. Smith's going to make their way across. Unfortunately, an invalidation for them. Not going to be bringing that lap home. Craig Niesbet in the McLaren. Just tailing the, well, very vibrant Porsche, I have to say. The almost candy-looking paint job. Very visually exciting. But Niesbet into P18 with a 46.7. Only just displaced slightly down as you've got the likes of Glenn Parkinson making their way. But you've got a lot of the silver and the golds starting to push up. Oscari Herme now promoted into gold following their absolutely mesmerizing performance in the second half of Season 7. They're going to be carrying that momentum up into the top flight. You've got James Payton, who's just come across the line, however, with a 44.1. Taking that Mercedes, they've stuck firm with it. Fresh coat of paint, but fresh tricks as well to go with the old dog. All drivers are looking to stake their claim, make their mark. And of the 37 drivers who make their appearance tonight for the inaugural round, we're going to have a lot of fireworks. 36 currently on track and 37 in lobby, although I believe we have just lost a driver. Good to see the Lexus out on track as well. It's the less common pick of the class. Of course, we have some favourites. You have the 296. You have the 720S. And even looking to the likes of a couple of other cars, like the Bentley has been seeing a little bit more use, which I've always found quite curious. The Nismo absolutely proving to be a dominant force last season. A bit of a contrast when you look back to when the Mustang debuted, and that was looking like a rocket. Completely untouchable for a little while until BOPs even things out. Going to be having a lot of fireworks on this course. We're on board with Liam Blom now, who is currently on track to be setting a best, although they have just invalidated. They peeled out a little bit too wide out of the top of Campsa. Sad to see, as that would have been a brilliant lap if they could bring it home. Wolfslander, meanwhile, 44.0, could be on task for a front row start. They just need to bring this one home. Half a second up on the Deltas. Getting dangerously close to the likes of Liam Blom there. 43.4 is Liam Blom's time. They could undercut it. It's a .555. It's less than a tenth, but it's just slightly off there. Got a new arrival as well in the Mustang GT3, Nicholas Björklund. Nice and bright. Another car for the Wolfpack outfit, it looks like, making their way up to the line now. And a healthy P19. Solid position to be in, slap bang in the middle of the pack. I've got a couple of cars now. Peter Smith just crossed the line with a P28. Can Carl Thompson hop? Yes, they can hop, skip, and a jump. It's up to P25 for the bronze driver. Got Ira as well going for a move earlier, but unfortunately they're going to be peeling off circuit, and looks like they are going to be RTPing. Making sure that they are clear of the circuit. Or at the very least, getting themselves out of trouble. Bruce Hopkins now coming up. P28. 6/10 down. 45.1 into P22. It's a good jump. And looks like they could be a driver to keep an eye out for. It's a fresh arrival to bronze. Many other drivers are shifting about, giving it other goes. See Liam Blom absolutely pushing it to the limit. You saw him overextend a bit too much out of Kamsa last time, but he's held it together on this run. Just needs to bring it home through the final corner. Takes as much of that curb as you can. And then a 43.0. Sector 2 and 3 looking like an absolute rocket. 43 dead, nearly. That was a tough act to follow. A very tough act indeed. I do wonder how the rest of the drivers are going to be responding to a mission statement like that. Couple more cars now making their way through. You've got Derek Bird into P17. You've got Robert Homer making their way to the line now. We're on board with. Going to be second verse, same as the first in the Porsche once again. Up to the line now, and a great improvement there. P23. That is a solid improvement and quite the turn. That could push them up this order. Glenn Parkinson, another driver who we've been on board with in the past in the McLaren. So it's good to see the livery department drivers going for a little bit of a visual refresh, as well as going for a bit of spectacle on their paints too. I see some experimentation with the colors. I see some new shapes. I'm all for it. A lot of drivers invalid or on outlaps having RTP'd to set up their runs here. We've got another driver here in the form of Engdahl. 5 minutes left to go in qualifying, but the pressure is certainly on. 443 car in the Nismo. So 43.5 just going to be pipping out Peter Wolfslanner. Rocket ships, these cars are. Absolute rocket ships. You got league owner Colin McNair. Of course, very strong performance in the silver class, only marred by a bit of a penalty point incursion that held them back. They do have the pace to make it work. That's why they got moved up into the gold class, and it shows with a top 10. P7 and a 43.767. That is a solid time indeed. Couple more cars now making their way through. Carl Thompson, a little bit wobbly through that final chicane. Bit rough on the exit as well. They're still up on the Delta, but can they bring that Delta home? Only got realistically time for a couple more laps in this session here, so time is running out for these racers. Kevin Walker. Got a couple of tenths on the clock. Is going to jump a position. Not the biggest jump in the world, but still, progress is progress. As we have Glenn Parkinson with another go, and this time pushing themselves up into P24. Andy Aldhouse, another driver that we have seen in seasons past, really has put on a good show. And in the Ferrari, they return. This time having acquired a fresh title sponsor, it seems. if their livery is anything to go by. So while we are on the subject of liveries, it is worth note that affiliations with any of the companies listed on these liveries are fictitious. So do not have any companies coming into our chat and threatening to sue, pretty please. Aldhouse, though, he's got the Tic Tac livery. His driving's looking fresh. Coming up to the line now. A little bit of a wobble on that final chicane, but can they still bring home an improvement? It's a 44.5 and it's up into the top 20. So definitely so. I'm very much a believer in the livery buff. If you do have a fresh livery for the season, you will go faster. This is a scientific fact verified by me and me exclusively. Fortunately for Kevin Walker, it hasn't quite panned out and they will be having to go once more. But it's the final 90 seconds now, so if drivers want to get time on this board, they're going to have to do it soon. They're going to have to do it now. If they're not already out on track, it's as good as game over. And we see from the top two, that looks like they're pretty comfortable with the laps they've set. Engdahl and Lindblom, first and second, they hold the front row, but can anybody challenge it? I can see that the likes of maybe Wolfslener, Larson, Holmberg, Hermé, all in that potential firing zone to be able to take just a couple of tenths would put them in that front row. Holmberg, however, is going to be heading into the pits and will be joining some of his other fellow competitors as the season draws to the session draws to a close. Final minute now, and the majority of the bottom of the field have gone into the pit lane and ended their quali run. With Walker going for a second lease of life in his run. 46.1, and with the current delta he's holding, he might be able to get himself into the top 30. A little bit rough around the edges in terms of the chicane. Wolfslener, unfortunately, no improvement from him. He's going to head into the pits. Johan Larsson is on a run. Final seconds of qualifying with the session now fully elapsed. It is time to get these final runs under their belts. Kevin Walker coming up to the line now, just behind Carl Thompson. Thompson up into P27. Walker up into P31. Good improvements from both of them either side of the fence. Hurlstrom is into the pits. He is not going to be going for another one. And Payton with an invalidation is going to follow suit. Leaving just a few cars left. You have Chris Bourne on the track. Black and purple, or is that pink? I can't tell because of the metallic or the reflective layer, so to speak. Bourne committed to this lap, making their way round now. And racing as quick as they can to the finish. It's a solid improvement. It's a P7 for Chris Bourne. And a great run indeed. Dave Marsh heading into the pits with Patrick Larson, unfortunately going off track. And there you go. That is session done. And in the end, it's going to be a quick roundup. So, Lindblom, along with Jimmy Engdahl and Peter Wolfslener, are going to be your top three heading into the gold side of running. Followed very closely by some of the compatriots. Holmberg, meanwhile, for silver, is going to be a clear margin away from the rest of his compatriots. He's over a half second faster than next closest silver driver, James Payton, and Thomas Linatus with a solid third in the Audi R8. And I've got to say, very striking, very stylish livery on this Audi right here. Got my kudos. Then, meanwhile, into the bronze realm, you have Iro taking that first place for bronze and looking to be the fire starter in all of this, with Robert Homer taking a second and Glenn Parkinson with the last couple of runs really making his way up into P3. But that is quite a run there, folks, and quite an exciting one to start things off. So we will be taking a short interlude, a short break, and then we will be explaining the session, how it works, and we'll be right back with you. So do not go anywhere, folks. We will be right back in just a moment. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the action. I hope you enjoyed that great qualifying session, and with that, the start of Season 8 fully underway. Now, this is where we ask for a little favour for you, the audience. If you've been here before, you know what kind of thing we're going to say. If you do enjoy what we do here, then please do feel free to give a little bit of a positive feedback, a little bit of a like on that stream. It will push us up in the search. You'll push us up in that algorithm so that we can bring the racing to more people, and it lets us know that you like what we're doing here and you like what we are doing in terms of changing up the format, improving things as we go. If you have any suggestions, always throw them in the chat. We'd rather have that open conversation about things that do work, things that don't, things you want to change for that better viewing experience. It's all about moving forward. And also, if you do want to stay tuned with everything here for Season 8 and beyond here at SIMseniors, you've got the YouTube channel, of course. Do subscribe to that, as well as getting involved with our Facebook group and eventually our Discord if you want to get involved in the action yourself. But we are going to go trackside in just a moment, and we will be joining our racers in the course in full. But it is an hour-long race. For those who are new, this is the format. We have a 5-minute practice session to get drivers ready and set up. You have a 15-minute qualifying, and then it is a 60-minute race with a mandatory pit stop. Important thing about the pit stop as well, folks, it is a mandatory fuel stop with a time of 25 seconds. You can optionally take tyres. That is up to you and your strategy and what you would like to do with it. However, the important thing is you get that fuel stop in. It is mandatory. There is no fixed window, but there is an important emphasis on getting that stop done, or you will not complete the race. You could go early with a splash and dash towards the end, or you could go with a fairly balanced strategy, 30 minutes on each stint, and minimize that fuel load, get the higher average times. Of course, it depends on what you want to do in your strategic elements. But here you go. This is once again returning to Catalunya. 22 degrees. The track has cooled down quite significantly as we have headed into the late evening here in Spain, and we will be going trackside with the drivers now. So we'll see what they are doing. We'll see what they are up to now, and let's have a look as the racing is going to now get underway. It's good to be back. It really is good to be back, ladies and gentlemen. We jump to the top of the queue and we see it's sort of a team effort there. They're both coordinated liveries. 1-2 for Lindblom and Engdahl. Crazy coincidence or collaboration? No, they've got very nice liveries. That coordination holding up the front row. It's like with the Wolfpack team, they have that design synergy. But we're making our way up to the course now, and We're heading about to the final sector before the leaders will then slow down to get into formation. We hold around a 60km/h speed, 60 to 100 as you get your way around some of the other areas of the circuit. And we'll see what the drivers can really bring to the table in terms of competition. Because it is going to be fierce this season. I can feel it. We've had a couple of change-ups. We've had a couple of match changes. Some drivers moved up classes. Some drivers moved around. We have some new faces. And it's all to play for here. As we make our way up now to the line, we'll jump on board with the helicopter and see the flurry of cars making their way through to the final corner, getting formation. As soon as race control gives the all clear, it is lights out, track hot, and the racing going to be absolutely legendary. Hope you're all as excited as I am, but here we go, up to the line, and race control is going to take that call any minute. Here we go, track is hot, round 1, season 8, let's do this, and immediately a quick jump away from the Nismos towards the top. They're going to be closely chased by Wolfslener, as you can see, 3, 4 wide in the background. We're going to stay on board with the heli as they go round the first corner through Elf, through the right, then to the left. We'll see everyone just trying to file through, fight for that position. Wolfslener with a good early overtake, as you see 2 by 2, side by side. A little bit further down, McNair and Holmberg, Bourne and Hermé, Hamby and Cutler, all dicing and trading for positions here as they are hunting fast and hunting sharp for any opportunity they can find out on that track. Looks like we have got a couple of altercations towards the end of the field, and there is chaos further down. There is spins, there is accidents, there is pandemonium all over this course. This is serious. This has gone from bad to worse for a lot of these drivers, and you can see some still all the way down at the Renault corner, trying to just get their cars righted and back on position. We'll, of course, have to take a bit of a replay there in a moment and catch up with that. But for the rest of the field, they've had a chance to jump away from the field and now chance to move into a space of their own. They want to get in their own space. Just find the room, find the breathing space, and start to get into mindset. Get in the mindset of pushing forward, bringing consistency, and driving hard but well. See Wolfslener doing very well here, as they have been pushing on this opening lap to try and break apart Lindblom and Engdahl. Certainly got their work cut out for them, as if anything we know from Season 7 is true, then we are talking about some formidable drivers at the sharp end of this. Not to be outdone. Looking a little bit further away, we have Colin chasing down Damien Reed. So Reed in the Lexus in P8 currently, but leading their respective group. Just observing and watching them go. Say Colin is looking to get that early chance. Remember, the race is young. They don't need to rush into overtakes. They don't need to be fighting super aggressively. But they really do want to just find a gap on this course. So we'll let things take a wheel here, as that is going to be Ira being overtaken by Nicholas. Head down into the sharp left-hander. The Mustang just getting a little bit later on the brakes. Ira is displaced down into P18 for the moment. Try to tail, but a little bit of dirty air, it seems like, getting in the way of their ambitions. That's Chris Mansell taking a bit too wide there. Getting that car back under control, but they do lose a little bit of time to Rog. Alex North also a driver on the hunt on the back at Eero here. They're looking to take the lead for bronze. And there's certainly a chance here. A little bit of a wobbly line. Bit of a weak line from Eero there. Keep a firm eye on the Aston and the Porsche as this session progresses. While we have that, let's take a quick moment to look back at exactly what happened on lap 1. So we're on board with the helicam. This is heading up into Repsol. Try and get a little bit of a catch. So there's a bit of a concertina effect. You have an incident further up ahead, and that is going to combine with some of the taps and some of the infractions from the other cars making their way through. Of course, by the time we catch him, it's just too late. It's already going on. Hughes is going to be alongside a Walker for a moment there, but they're going to quickly switch it back to the inside. Looks to the left, looks to the right. Hunts for any kind of fakes and any kind of space that they can take from the other Ferrari. Ultimately declines going for the move, and I think that's wise because it would be a bit too aggressive to try and get it round this last sector. If anything, tee yourself up to go for an attack into turn 1. Use a bit of that reduced drag from the wake of the car ahead. Use that to get round and then confirm the move with the inside line. To see what Hughes does here. As we look from the perspective of Walker as the other Ferrari is chasing. See in the background as well, a little bit of tussling for some of the lower spots. Not quite closing that gap. We jump on board with Justin, who has made a bit of a switch. So Justin used to be running in, I believe it was the Aston Martin, and now they have made a bit of a change in their order. They've gone for the Nismo. R35 did look to be a dominant contender, at least in the hands of some of our winners per class, so I don't blame him for that. Interesting to see him switch like the way that he has, and is now going to be hot on the heels of McNair. Looking to take the P8 from McNair's respective class position. Got to say though, Reed really holding that line there like an iron wall. They are dropping to the back of Hamby, but that's not holding them from defending. The defense is certainly strong in that Lexus, and I am seriously impressed. Hamby as well, another driver who has made a bit of a switch. He was previously in the Huracan, but now has decided that he wants to go for a little bit of British engineering in the form of the McLaren 720S. It does wash wide a little bit out of Renault and into Repsol. But yes, a couple of drivers switching out, and overall the choices of cars seem to have converged somewhat. We're not seeing that same amount of diversity. We do have a couple of cars that I consider to be more oddball picks on the side. So we got the Audi coming in a bit more. We've got the return of the Mustang by a few key drivers. And then the Lexus making an appearance, which is really not one that you see every day. Well, Lenatus could be teeing up a move on that pink Mustang of Richard Cook. Looks like we also have somewhat of a tussle with Colin, Dave, and Justin here. So let's check on with them. As they seemingly had a mini fight. And McNair momentarily dropping down. Although immediately jumping back up, so I think my timing board just had a bit of a hiccup. I think these drivers are going to be the ones to watch, though, as things are going to be heating up before long. Already fairly late here in Barcelona, to the point where a couple of drivers have opted to turn on their headlights. So we won't see that full time progression. I don't think enough to manifest into a completely dark circuit, but some drivers still taking precautions. And as we sit on board with Reed, it's mightily clear that he's got a handle on it. Reed is in silver, so has got the advantage of being a class under. And with that taken into consideration, the pressure he's feeling and how he's dealing with it is immense and impressive. We'll check in with some of the others in a very similar boat. And we see none other than the quintet of Cook, Lenatus, Larson, Bird, and Björklund. As there is a brief yellow flag brought out for a track section. See exactly what that is. So that is Chris Bourne going for an extremely early pit stop and opting to get that pit done early. So either he had a bit of damage from that early altercation that he just needed to resolve, or he's making the choice to go into the pits before everyone else and skip some of the traffic. Bit of a drag race now heading into the first corner. That's going to be Carl Thompson. He goes for the move on Nisbet. He succeeds in getting the move on Nisbet. Hughes and Walker also squabbling a little bit further up the road, but all eyes on here right now. The wild thing is, after all of this fighting, all of this squabbling, we still have most drivers who are within a couple of seconds of each other. Nobody has got a clean breakaway, which I think is perfect, because that does show how close the classes are running this year. Second verse, same as the first, with Lenatus tailing the back of Richard Cook and seriously laying in the pressure, which is what you need to do. You don't want to let it go. You can't be kind in this sport, in this environment. It's a tough balancing act, and a balancing act that drivers have learned to masterfully juggle. We do have some drivers who are starting to push the boat, so making a little bit of time improvement. We jump aboard Johan Larsson in the McLaren. So this is a returning driver as well. No change in livery, no change in car. They've gone for consistency. If it ain't broke, why fix it? Looks like it certainly ain't broke, because he's challenging for Engdahl's spot at the podium right now. At the very least, he's breathing down his neck and refusing to let that Nismo go. Fight hard. Get the elbows out. But don't be overzealous with it. We're up to the quarter mark, 25% in, and currently your race standings are looking fairly mixed. Liam Blom has so far got the hold on this season as well. And at least for the time being, looks to be the car to beat once again. Times can always change. The situation can always change. But early impressions make it seem like Liam Blom is once again, oh, saying that, bit of a wobble heading through Elf and into Renault. Quite the wobble indeed. Looks like McNair is going to be heading into the pits and jumping all the way down to the back of the order also. This will be a very different move. And a strategy that may pan out for them if they can keep consistent times through to the very end. See, that old house is just going to be making sure they are ahead of Nisbet. Nisbet peeling a bit to the inside. Trying to be defensive. But it was in vain. It seems like they lost quite a bit of speed compared to old house in the Ferrari. And that was going to be the moment where it all goes. Larson is going to be the driver who continues to pile that pressure on towards the podium end. Engdahl is firmly in his crosshairs. And it doesn't look like he shows any sign of relenting. All of the drivers here really giving it their all. So everywhere from the likes of the pro/gold drivers all the way down to bronze. Everyone really is giving it their all. Although curiously, Dave Marsh is going to be heading into the pits just 16 minutes in. So quite a strategic conundrum. What looks like Nisbet and Wilson are having a bit of squabble, and Nisbet is really struggling. Don't really know what's going on with that McLaren there. But for whatever reason, they seem to be struggling and losing a fair amount of pace. We can even see the likes of Homer teeing up for a potential move. Doesn't commit to it. They find the straight line speed. But it's a worrying position to be in, because Nisbet has dropped a couple of positions in the space of just a couple of laps. While there is plenty of time, that is a warning sign that things are not well. And we see that in the background as well, with Rog Dismikas also dropping a position in their freshly repainted Porsche. This is one of those difficult facts. Racing is a zero-sum... Whoa! Randy Zimmer is round, ladies and gentlemen. Coming up through Worth and into Kamsa. That Ferrari has spun. And we will see exactly what happened there. Let's check it on the instant replay. So coming down through Sayat now. Downhill approach. Looks like they were alongside Carl Thompson. Going for the attack on the uphill. Looks like a classic case of two drivers trying to fit into one line and one corner's worth of space. Sad to see Zimmer and Thompson come together like that. But it's a tale as old as time here in the sport. You both go for the same corner. You don't really adjust your line to accommodate, and there is all she wrote. But even that as well, there is another incident, this time coming out of the first and second corners. It's Cook and Lenatus. They are both completely round and have to quickly rejoin the circuit as soon as they can. So we'll see what's going on with them. The first corner now. Yeah, that's Lenatus poking the nose in. Looks like an... Oh, there's a hefty impact as well by another one of the Ferraris. A hefty impact indeed. We're checking on some of the others. Hughes, Surrey on the back, North in P14. Leading the bronze charge with the Aston. Then that's going to be Cutler. Heading into the pit now. Cutler with that early pit jump is going to be upsetting the order somewhat. As this is Oscari currently sat in P5. Chasing down Johan Larsson. And not looking like they have a regret in the world. They're going for that rush and they're going for that fight. Nisbet is currently coming out of the pit, so I do believe that they were having some kind of car issue. To where they had to bring it in. Cutler and Artis Nisbet in pit. Leaving a few drivers now able to capitalize. We've got a three-way fight. Larsson has got continued pressure on Engdahl, and even after all this time in the race, does not budge for an instant. But Oscari has had a chance to close that gap, to get in close. To lean in nice and tight, and then bring their car within that striking distance. Got informed as well, that's going to be the number 331 car. Clearing a drive-through. So Nisbet actually had a drive-through penalty that they had to clear from their name. At the start as well, we also saw Peter Smith taking a drive-through. Penalties, of course, being administered. To resolve them on track within a certain period of time. Larsson is on the hunt. Not taking things lying down. We are out a couple of cars, sadly, so that's going to be down to 34 racers. With 37 starters, we're now down to 34 cars on this course. Richard Cook now making their way into the pit. And Iro eyeing up a P14 opportunity. With the back of Mark Hughes firmly in sight. Just watching on board. I'm curious to look at how their car is responding to some of these bumps. It's looking like it gets a little bit unsettled at times, particularly when you're cresting over some of the curbs. It does seem to get a little bit unnaturally settled, and I wonder if there's maybe something at issue with setups on this front. So I've got Richard Cook now rejoining the pits with Chris Bourne taking the easy spot. And leveraging the opportunity at their disposal. Meanwhile, Hermé, Larsson, and Engdahl continue their close proximity. That close proximity is going to lead to some major chaos later on. Hughes, meanwhile, joining and attacking. North is going to be someone who will really be a target. course, Hughes is fundamentally in a different race. So they got a few things on their plate they have to weigh up. Gotta say, if there's one driver that I am impressed with, it is going to be Reed. They had several gold class drivers on their tail challenging for positions, and they refused to allow themselves to yield, refused to allow themselves to be pressured into a mistake. So that is definitely commendable. They are closely followed at this point by Ostrachaz in the M4 GT3, and then Patrick Larson, who's joining us in the Ferrari. Hunt is definitely on, with Derek Bird actually going for an overtake on Bjorklund. Derek Bird, though, despite getting that overtake, is going to forfeit the advantage that comes with. Yes, maybe not aligning with their wider strategy. We are 25 minutes into the race, and so far we've got a healthy amount of cars now into the pits. About 10 of the current racers, about a third, you are in the pit lane and have taken their stops. Mark Hughes continuing to be on that charge. Yet not able to hold down the proximity. They haven't been able to show that pace to keep up with them. Which, you know, is sad to say a little bit, because you want to see them get up close and you want to see them fight. Not always the case, unfortunately. And then the fight has to press on elsewhere, like with Hopkins. They're chasing down Kevin Walker. Getting very close, in fact, to doing so, as they're running the advantage. And, whoa! Looks like there was a little bit of lift-off oversteer there. Kevin Walker is into the inside wall, and they're spinning around again, trying to rejoin the circuit. Just a stab on the throttle, spins for a third time. They're going across the racing track. That is not ideal. They have just taken Homer out, going sideways along the racing surface. Homer is not going to be a happy bunny after that one, I can tell you that much. You can see they're waiting for the chance to get back on course properly. There you go, jumping onto the racing surface once again. You are Kevin Walker, almost limping their car along. Maybe there is a wider issue at play, as they don't seem to be able to get that car moving, and have stopped before RTPing. Maybe there's a serious mechanical issue with that one. They had no choice but to peel out. Sad situation. And a bit of a clumsy move. Luckily, there was only one casualty. We're on board with Oscari as they are on the hunt. And I do have to say, I absolutely love the paint. I'm a little bit biased. I think brilliant movie, but I absolutely love it. So Scotty, if you ever come back and watch this, know that I respect the heck out of that paint job. Making our way up further, this is Chris Mansell on the back of Aldhouse and looking for an opportunity to strike. They're both in silver, so this one is for the marbles. And a couple of promotions have been netted further up thanks to some pit lanes. Engdahl and Ostrachos both making their way in. Looks like Mansell's going to be doing the same. Even a few different drivers towards the soft marooned. Hughes and North continue their escapades as they pressure each other into a potential mistake. And we'll check in with some of the other drivers around the rest of the field. Now, we are seeing multiple packs start to form. A lot of drivers are spacing themselves out. And a couple of racers have found their own pocket of the track. If you can get that pocket within a few seconds of another car, you can focus on hot lapping. You have a chance to get that race pace down. The last time is of the essence here. And for a lot of these racers, it's not something they have the luxury of. So let's look, for instance, at Craig Morrison. They have yet to take a pit stop, but they're flanked by drivers who have. So they need to make the most of this critical juncture as we cross the halfway mark of the race, before he has to pit himself and gets relegated down into potential 30s. Big wave of cars now heading into the pits. You've got Bjorklund, North, Wilson all jumping in, which means that now the majority of the field has taken their required stop. Remember, 25 seconds mandatory for fuel. They have got to get those pit stops done, and if they wish, they can also go for a new set of tyres. I would personally jump for the tyres as well, because if you're going to be in there, you might as well get a fresh set of rubber and really run optimal towards the end. I think that little bit of time being burned could be all the more worthwhile, especially when you start to see the grip degradation towards the end of the race. Hamby back on the course and into P15. Looks to be a serious contender for this field's higher positions. Curious that we're not really seeing the Lamborghini anymore. Or any Lamborghinis. It looks like we had a bit of an off-track excursion with Craig Morrison just out of shot. He's gone and got himself into a bit of a pickle. Just coming up, and you can see the easy overtake from their opponents. Don't know why the replay wasn't going as far back as I requested. Was continuing to have a couple of hiccups technically, but we do see a massive wave of drivers in the pit too. We see Wolfslander at the top, Liam Blom, Damian Reed, Mark Hughes, Bruce Hopkins, James Payton. They're all jumping their way in. Patrick Larson has got a chance to get a bit of a break from the attacks, and Aldhouse has got much of the same, but that will not last. Eventually they will have to pit again like the others. They are the only couple of racers left to do so. Only 3 drivers remain. Craig Morrison, Aldhouse, and then Larson, who currently leads. So Bjorklund is a driver who has put down a strong foot forward. They are, curiously though, going to be going in again. So something has happened, or something is not quite right with that car. We're going to have Mark Hughes now making their way out of the pits. Where will they land up? They're going to be peeling out just ahead of Richard Cook in the Mustang. And they have effectively managed to undercut that GT3. There's no replacement for strategy. And right now, Hughes is going to be the one in control of it. A well-placed timing. And a fairly natural overtake. A couple more drivers are making their way out to trackside, such as Craig Morrison down in P32 of 34. And with that, the last couple of cars are now making their way in. So Larson and Aldhouse both going to commit to their stops. Liam Blom is on the prowl once again towards the top end of the field. And 6 seconds clear of Wolfslander. Starting to even interface with a couple of back markers. So Parkinson. Alex North now 3.8 seconds adrift from Chris Bourne, 1.9 seconds up on his previous deltas. He certainly has the pace and the wherewithal to get moving up this grid. It's just, is he going to be able to consistently bring that in order to take it? We'll see that Cook is not going to relent, not too distant from how Mansell or Hughes sort of stick to their guns and stick close, like we saw earlier. And Hughes in particular being a pressuring power. We are going to see that pink Mustang have no such chance of yielding. We'll see Justin Cutler on the back of Colin McNair. Now, top 10 all held by gold class cars. But Damien Reed continues to be the driver who led that charge into territories unknown, where you would usually see fairly striped and fairly banded multi-class events. So you'd have your first group that were really quite potent, and then another group who are much bigger of a skill gap. We don't really see those kind of margins here. There's a little bit of cross-pollination between the groups, if that makes sense. The Cutler going for the outside attack, forcing McNair to go on defensive. Good strategy by them both. A little bit of fender bender, a little bit of contact coming through up into Renault. Now they're going to commit and remain side by side. Couple more kilometers an hour of exit speed from Cutler's going to keep him in this fight, but McNair refuses to budge. Holds the inside line, heading into Repsol. Keeps the nose in significantly alongside enough to make a bit of a difference. But that is still not going to be enough. McNair on the back of Cutler, chasing constantly, looking left, looking right, switching back. Little bit of a tail snap on the throttle. Bit too aggressive there. Peels back to the inside of the slipstream. And that will be, at least for now, all she wrote, because that is McNair. A couple of tenths of a second displaced now. Not quite as close as one used to be. A couple of other cars making their way around this course. We have Larson and Hermé. Hermé firmly on the hunt. As we can see a good chunk of our leaders up ahead in the distance. It's going to be one of the back marker Ferraris. And now Hermé is sat within the top 5, potentially able to push even further if Larson is going to play ball. I think we're going to see a bit of a fight continue, though, between McNair and Cutler. In fact, McNair's managed to be able to really put that pressure on and be ahead of Cutler on this occasion. Although, what has happened to our leader as well? Because that is a yellow flag coming out for David Lindblom. Let's see exactly what happened. Jumps on the brakes, tries to go through the chicane, peels a little too wide there. And heading up through, and that's a big slide. Luckily, no contact made, so no residual lasting damage, but still, an unexpected wobble has changed the game here. What was a 6-second gap is now a single second and counting, which could be something that plays into Wolfslenner's favor. Wolfslenner hunting down and getting quickly within that half-a-second barrier. Certainly will be conjuring some of the nerves as they make their way through. Pulling up quite close, having to yield back because it is, at the end of the day, a suboptimal line. Going on the attack like that. Nobody daring to jump too quick to conclusions. No position is foregone. And that's going to be the move. That's going to be the chance that goes for it. Wolfslenner goes alongside through the chicane. Gets to the inside, heading up into Kamsa. But that Nismo is going to be a tough fighter, a tough component, and a tough challenge. Lindblom keeps it firm even across the marbles. You can see those little bits of rubber being displaced along the track. And that Nismo is going to be making not one, but two potentially of them in this fight. The Bentley displaced now down into second, but Engdahl could be breathing down the neck of him at any moment here. The number 443 car is in this proximity, and now the top 5 are extremely close to one another. Down into the next lap, heading into lap 23 and into the final 20 minutes of this session. It's looking like the fireworks have barely just begun. There is a little bit of an altercation further down, as well as Linatus has gone round. Let's see exactly what happened here. We're going down into Repsol. We see a bit of contact further up. A bit of chaos, and you can see there's Linatus going for fairly normal racing line, trying to close in, and a tap again. That is from the Tic Tac Ferrari. That will be from Andy Oldhouse. Sad to be seeing it. But then if we rewind as well, we can check in and see exactly what happened. So Jan Larsen going for a bit of an attack, gets dropped down, not only by Engdahl, but by Herme. So he is going to be taking P5 in this relative order. And you can see how they're all quite organised, almost eerily so, as we make our way through. Oh, do apologise for that brief hiccup. Brief interruption there. I'm not sure if the screen froze for anyone else watching, but seemed to have a little bit of a moment. You can see Johan peeking to one side, still eager for those opportunities to take it. Not quite being afforded such a luxury yet. Though I'd hazard that there is still going to be time in his pocket. Looks like we've had a major issue. That is Dismuquez stopped on the track and not moving. I think they might have miscalculated their fuel, because their car sounds completely out of commission. There you go. That is an RTP. And I think that is another racer out of running. We are down now to 33 racers. Unfortunate that things have teed up that way. We look to the front. We see a couple of opportunities, a couple of chances, as we do have a bit of a... Wait a second. Wait a second indeed. We have got ourselves a true fight towards the top coming up. Lindblom was overtaken by Wolfsteiner and is not taking that one lying down. I wasn't able to pinpoint exactly where it happens, but Wolfsteiner is going to have his work cut out for him now. Let's look to the front. Lindblom peels up to the left side, trying to get that better line, tucks in behind the Bentley. All of them looking for a space, looking for a spot. Larson and Herme in the background, you could just see trading those places and refusing to yield to one another. They both take their respective corners of the track, but eyes to the top. Lindblom could be trying their best to close in. They have technically got the fastest lap by a massive margin. Wolfsteiner's best, 44.1, but Lindblom has a 43.2. Definitely a statement towards their single lap pace being on almost another level. A little bit overcast here in the evening of Barcelona. It's coming up to 8 PM local time. 15 minutes left on the clock. The racers are getting slowly closer and closer. While we haven't got the entire cross-field fighting, there is definitely some squabbles boiling over around this course, and we're going to see those come into fruition in a very big way very soon. So Lindblom now on the hunt. We do see a local yellow. That looks to be Eero. I think they might be having an issue there. We're down to 32 cars. Is Eero going to make it 31, or are they just yielding for blue flags? Looks like they might be okay. It might just be okay. 13 minutes on the clock. Question on my mind is, where does this mean we stand with the championship, folks? Because we have some absolutely class acts in this roster, in all classes, in all fronts. There's so many variables, it's hard to call any kind of prediction. Lindblom being a key anchor in last season's championship, consistently fighting towards the top and not seeing much in the way of challenge. Looks like other drivers have risen to the occasion, as he currently sits behind a very large black and white Bentley with a highlight yellow accents. Going up to the first corner again now. Wolfslen are really giving him a run for his money, and that's what we want to see. We want to see them duking it out. We want to see battles. We want to see fire and flames. Carnage. Not literally, to clarify. I just mean exciting racing. Nobody wants to be seen wiping out. So we have an issue further down as Walker has stopped out on the side of the course and RCP'd. That could speak to a potentially wider issue. There's a couple of different cars are challenging for a space on their opponents. For instance, we just jumped on with Patrick Larson right in time for him to yield off an attack of Derek Bird. And just deciding that it wasn't quite the right time. Not quite the right time to go for the attack. They'll pick their moment on the track when it suits best. That's the great thing about racecraft. It's all about getting that chance to put each other through your paces. But, you know, respectful way. Knowing your limits as a driver is vastly more important than chasing an infinitely smaller number on the lap count. But it is definitely good to see some of our racers finally having a meaningful challenge. And as is said in track, bringing the Wolfslener has been really working and raising to the occasion. Now holding off the previous season's champion in the first race. That's certainly something to put on your record. Because as far as racing records go, that is pretty neat. Check in on board with the final chicane. We see Chris Mansell in a familiar tail on the back of Richard Cook now. Racing their way forward. The drivers hastily prepare for an attack. We'll keep continually checking back on our P1 and P2 as they have their own story brewing in real time. Though for now, there are lots of different microcosms of the racetrack that we ought to explore. For example, Bjorklund just overtaking Missouri. Bjorklund towards the bottom end of the field. Of course, it is a early days race for them. I don't believe I've seen their name in previous seasons. But here we go. Eyes up front as it looks like Liam Blom is genuinely trying to take a shot at Wolfslener here. Really is trying to make that attack work. Not sure why Wolfslener is indicating to the left. Could be they could be trying to mimic Touristenfahrten over on the Nordschleife. Only overtaking on the left side, please. Here we go. This is going to be the push from Liam Blom. He's teed himself up for it. Heading out through Campsite. He went all in on speed. And now he's going around the outside to try and challenge. Wolfslener just having a little bit more on the exit there is going to keep him at bay. But he's certainly making his statements clear and his intent known. No challenge like this, no race like this is going to have you get off scot-free. continue to close the gap. They actually are drawing one out. With Hermé now 3 seconds behind. And under some pressure of his own. Because there is a certain red McLaren who wants to be taking that spot. Got 6 minutes to do it. So, reality speaking, about 3.5 laps. 3.5 laps of racing remain. And it's been a very good round to open things up on. Fortunately, we only saw 31 cars make it to this stage, down from 37, so I think we had a couple of fuel misinputs. In terms of setups and strategy. But there we are, can confirm the indicator is now off for Wolfsteiner. Lindblom now, just you can watch him almost desperately looking at the way he moves, the way his car moves. He's looking to the right, then he's looking to the left. And yes, that is in part avoiding the dirty air, but you can also see through that and look at any way he's trying to get by. He doesn't want to be stuck behind another car anymore. And here we go, this might be seeing it come into play. Side by side with the Bentley, no contact being made. A bit of a squeeze coming in from the Bentley up ahead. Down into Renault and then Repsol. Good run, clean run. Jump on board with the helicopter and we can get a larger shot of the kind of racing we are seeing around here. The race is certainly on and time is running out. The indicators may be off, but the warning signs are certainly there. Wants to get by this Bentley. Wolfsteiner really showing how good his perspective can be. Also starting to deal with a couple of drivers having some back markers around their place of play. Eero is going to be combined with a couple of other cars into a bit of a fighting force. Now he has yielded to blue flags there. But it's the sense of being a good sport about it. If you know that you aren't faster, then why fight? If anything, tuck in behind them, use their slipstream for a freebie, and make notes of their lines that they take. Every little helps. And your war is on information. Every little helps. Final efforts and final steps now making their way through. Lindblom currently is still on the chase. He still holds the fastest lap, so he's not alone. Definitely not alone. He keeps that sating of the wishes. Larson has a challenge to push forward, a chance to push against the grain. Getting himself into P13. P12 is extremely unlikely because look at that time difference. 10.4 seconds. I'd like to see some of us go ahead and try to break that gap within this time. But there we are. This is the confirmation. The leader is now on the final lap, ladies and gentlemen. This is game time. And this is going to be the important stuff. They'll be fighting for an opportunity to get any movement forward. Not quite happening as of yet. Liam Blom is running out of time. If he wants this, he's going to need it now. But Wolfslener has a firm hold of the position. You see jumping on board here with the Nismo driver himself. He's trying to keep up to that Bentley and it's just not happening. That Bentley is something else right now. It is absolutely something else. We have a couple of drivers who are closing in on their battles as well. But with 31 cars remaining, a close overtake from Ostrachar is happening in the wings. And then towards the front, we have none other than Wolfslener and Lindblom in P1 and P2. A healthy shake-up, a shuffle. And Wolfslener is going to take the checkered flag in the inaugural round of Season 8. The Spanish Grand Prix here at SIMseniors has been completed. And Wolfslener is taking your top prize for a brilliant first round. Lindblom, of course, in a very close second, followed by Jimmy Engdahl just a little bit further away as well. Seriously impressive and great to see that racing unfold right in front of our eyes. Meanwhile, Justin Cutler is going to round out our top 10 for our gold class, which leaves Damian Reed to take the lead and win for silver, followed closely by Adam Ostrachar and then Patrick Larson in third place, neatly split by Mr. Derek Bird. But looking further down even more, we have Alex North taking a win here for bronze and flying the flag well. You've got Bruce Hopkins, who also made a bit of a jump and went into P21 themselves, followed by a close run of 5 different bronze class cars: Parkinson, Nisbet, Smith, Missouri, and Morrison. That is where we call things time, and that is where we can see a lot of drivers now actually queuing and teeing up on track. But that will be all from us in the commentary box tonight, ladies and gentlemen. It has been immensely fun as always. It's good to be back, and it's good to be here in the new season. Of course, if you do enjoy what we do here and you do enjoy the racing that we put on for these events, either in seasons past or to now, of course, give us a bit of love on the stream. Subscribe if you want to catch up the rest of Season 8 and beyond. And with that, we also have the Facebook group, closely followed by our Discord server. But that is where we wrap things for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. It's been, of course, amazing. We hope that everyone watching has a brilliant night. And we will see you, of course, very soon. So do not go too far. Don't stray too far, folks, because next round we are going to be here same time next week, and we're going to be heading ourselves over to Laguna Seca. So great track to have our second round on. My name's been Ben Sapswood, aka Sapitron, and I will see all of you in the chat, in the paddock, and at home next time. Take care. Have a great night. And have a good evening. Farewell.